we were like had hippie values, but working in an 80s capitalist company selling selling cans of fizzy drink.
Right.
And so we said fuck it and we decided to go to Italy and set up.
We each have our own gift to give, and yours is unique. Welcome to the Calvin Correli Show. I'm really excited to have you.
Welcome, everybody. I'm Calvin Correli. I'm here with John Parkin. I'm super pumped. I'm so excited because your book came out in 2007, if I'm not mistaken.
And yeah, original book was 2007, 2008. Yeah,
it was called Fuck It, and combining the swear word with spirituality and explaining how fuck it was the ultimate spiritual way. And I was living in Denmark at the time, and it took my entire circle of friends by fire. Like, everybody started talking about this book and reading it because it was so controversial, putting that together, and it was so true, it's so accurate. And I just went back now before our conversation and pulled up my digital copy of your book and was looking at the chapter on food, where you're like, say fuck it to food, and you're talking about like gluten-free pasta, cocoa-free chocolate, caffeine-free coffee, sugar-free sweeteners, flour-free bread, dairy-free ice cream, sugar-free cakes, fat-free biscuits, and meat-free sausages and burgers. And I'm like, dude, you're ahead of your time.
It was a bit.
I didn't hear about till just a few years ago. So yeah,
I was going, what the fuck, about 10 years before anybody else.
Exactly right. It is kind of nuts. So yeah, John, really great to have you, really great to meet you and talk to you. Like, how do you get to that?
I just want to say it's really great to meet you and talk to you as well, Calvin, because I'm a fan. I love what you're doing. I love your ideas. I love pretty much everything you say. I really love it, and it's really resonating with me. So I just wanted to say this is feel the same. So I'm really excited to be here and chat. Really, really excited. So yeah, how do I get to what?
How did you get to like that whole fuck it concept?
I mean, it's a in and out story, really, but we kind of hit the idea probably in about 2004, 2005, because we had said fuck it in the kind of bigger sense of the word to our more traditional lives, which was in London, working in we worked in advertising. My wife's Italian, so I'll mention Italy a bit probably. We met at an advertising agency, and so we were doing the London thing and really enjoying it and being creatives. We're both creatives, and but we were both interested in therapy, spirituality, alternative health, a lot of the stuff that went together, including eating all those foods that are free of all the shit that they should have in them. That's what we were doing. We were into that. We were, youngish. I mean, we were quite ahead of our time because we were like had hippie values, but working in an 80s capitalist company selling cans of fizzy drink.
Right.
And so we said fuck it and we decided to go to Italy and set up a retreat center. So the idea was, why don't we bring up our recently born kids in the countryside, and quite a hippie idea, and just help people relax and let go and find themselves and contact spirituality. We were very into shamanism and a whole range of things.
So were you always a hippie?
I'm always been a bit hippie. Yeah, in the a real mix actually. And it's as you go through life, you kind of try to understand where the fusions of the bits of us that come about are, because I come from a family that's very, very religious, more religious than, well, let's say very religious, so very Christian family. But my dad was also an accountant who was very interested in making money and success. And so this is interesting. You talk about,
right,
entrepreneurship and spirituality.
I love that position.
I grew up with it being a bit too much, a bit like this.
Right.
And so I think some of my life, sometimes you don't really know what you're doing, but sometimes I think some of it's about trying to do, rather than this, to kind of do this thing.
Exactly. Yeah. For me,
Yeah.
it was it was my dad was the business guy, and my mom was the spiritual person, and same, like, let's try to, which incidentally, my parents just got married yesterday, again for the second time. They were married for 33 years, they're divorced for 20, and yesterday they just remarried at age
That is
81 and
beautiful.
85.
How beautiful.
Right. So cool. And now we're speaking.
Yeah, lovely.
Yeah.
That's funny because my parents got divorced yesterday after 60 years.
For real?
No.
No. All right. I was like, what?
It would be a great story if it were true.
That would be, yeah. Yeah. No, so yeah, so taking these forces that seem to be opposed and then figuring out how do we integrate it. For me, it makes perfect sense, but I mean, for me, it was definitely also a journey to get to that place.
It is, yeah. And I don't yeah, it's interesting. I remember I was in an amazing advertising agency in London. This is probably the late 90s. And I was really into the spiritual stuff. So, and the agency was it was a fantastic agency. It was an agency.
So I'm in here again. What was your gateway drug into the spiritual world?
The gateway drug was probably ill health, actually.
Mm.
No, that's not a gateway drug, is it? That's a motivation.
Yeah.
Gateway drug was it's not spiritual, but humanism was probably the first thing. I went from kind of religion, you go, I don't think this thing's any good, kind of going, I'll give it up to God, to going, well, it's amazing. I was going to say my God, but it's amazing how brilliant we are as human beings. Why do you need a God when we got all this shit going on in here? We can do anything. We can solve it. It's like, we're brilliant. So I spent years going, we're brilliant as human beings. Why do you need anything else? So that got me out of that thing. And then I was just, because I wasn't very well, but I clearly had a desire for spirituality. It was a variety of things, mainly early on, things around Tai Chi and Qigong. So a kind of Taoist, Buddhist. And I love the way, once you're out of the traditional kind of Judeo-Christian thing, you can do lots of stuff together. It's like, yes, I'm very interested in the Tao and Buddha, and you list 15 different gods, beings, and entities, and that's fine. So yeah, that was where I was, and I was reading. In the 90s, I was just fascinated by it. Still fascinated, but I was really into the kind of philosophical background to it all. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So the advertising agency, great advertising agency.
Thank you. Yeah. It was a fantastic advertising agency. And I was really interested in all that stuff. And I was meditating for an hour a day, doing Tai Chi for another hour a day. I was really, but then working on selling stuff effectively. And I was basically building up a property portfolio. So before, about, I don't know how long, 5 or 10 years before it became a very big thing to do what's called in the UK buy to let. Everybody does it, but it was a very particular term. I was basically in my spare time buying properties to let them out. And I would then chat about it with people in the agency, and they knew what I was doing. And I had one planner. So planners are the kind of, in an advertising agency, planners are the kind of the clever guys who've done, studied psychology, wherever it is, and they're sitting there thinking about how things work, and the creatives are the mad people. So I was talking to a planner about what I was doing. He goes, it's strange with you, isn't it, John? He's like, you're a kind of property baron, and yet you're like talking about shamanism all the time. He says, aren't those two kind of conflicting? And I goes, no, not to me. It's just they seem perfectly natural sitting to each other. And he said, maybe this is a bit of the future, isn't it? And I goes, I think it is. And I wanted to say that because that's what we're talking about, isn't it? It's like things that we see as like this can be. We'll see.
Yeah. And so was that a spark for you that you realized, hey, maybe because what's interesting to me is that you come from an advertising background, and fuck it, it's just like perfect branding, right? Like it's a really good crystallization of this. When I saw it, I was like, damn, that was smart. So yeah. Tell me more about how you came about that.
Well, it's interesting. It's not, I suppose it's interesting that thing about, because the people used to talk about that at the beginning, when Fuck It first came out. It's like, that's, that what you say really, which is that, well, that's kind of the advertising thing. And I suppose what it is the common thing there. How do I put this? Well, in marketing, what I recognized, and which made me actually in the end very successful at it, what I recognized was that you've got to try to understand the soul of the company or the person that's marketing something.
Mm-hmm.
And it doesn't matter what that soul or heart looks like, really, the essence of that. Let's say essence rather than soul, because soul, we assume it's kind of good, don't we? But let's say essence of the person, the company, whatever it is. And then if you convey that authentically with the audience, then success happens. And if you don't convey it authentically, then it's not going to be successful. So you really have to get what their essence is. And what's interesting is their essence could be that they're evil bastards. It could be that they just want to make money. And it could be that they just want to feed you and make you fat. But if you get it and they're clear about it, and then you convey it to the market, then it kind of works.
Yeah.
And it's spotting what the essence is and spotting the idea and what's already there, really.
Right.
So that always.
What is that movie? The Volvos, they're boxy but safe, or something safe.
I love that. Yeah, I can't remember what it was, but it's I remember exactly that line.
Like, starts telling the truth, like Jaguars, so that you can attract the women that you want hand jobs from, or something like that. Like,
that's right.
Yeah.
I did a campaign for Mazda.
Mm-hmm.
That I was clearly inspired by that memory of that film, because we put up. Well, it's really an amazing story. Can I tell a quick story about what happened there? Because it was a pinnacle of my advertising career, really. Because I came up with what I thought was the best ideas I'd ever had. I don't know when, 98 or something. And the people in the agencies had seen these ideas that we were going to pitch to Mazda for their new range of cars. And everybody went, these are amazing. This is a great idea. I had one idea. I won't tell you. I had one idea that I thought was the best idea that anybody'd ever had in advertising, and that would revolutionize advertising. And so I was so excited about this. And I actually went to the meeting with the client, and I presented the 4 or 5 different campaigns. That's what we do, 4 or 5 different campaigns. And I was so proud. I thought they're going to love it. This is going to change advertising. And they sat there. There's a pause, and I think it was not the marketing director, the sales director said, "I think I'm probably speaking for us all when I say that was 0% good. That was total bollocks, in fact." And he said, "Why don't you just put the car on the poster and say it's brilliant?" It's like it was like real kind of in English, like you'd say that in a northern accent. We're pretty much, I'm from pretty far north in England. To go, the bloody good car. With this great cars. That's what we'd say. And we went away after recovering ourselves. We went away and we came back with posters that basically said, you say about boxy, I can't remember what the Mazda was called, but let's say the Mazda 323 estate is less boxy than the Volvo, whatever it was. And they loved it, and it went out, and they had to build a new factory to make more Mazdas.
Oh, holy crap. Wow.
He was right.
Yeah. I've always I remember staying at an airport hotel. Like, that truth in advertising is just so powerful, because like so few people do it, and it's counterintuitive. And even I forget it all the time. I was staying at an airport hotel, and overnight, because flight delays and whatnot. And in the elevator, it was this little poster ad thing for the restaurant at this hotel, and how like exquisite and fantastic and phenomenal. I'm like, dude, what? Like, this is not credible at all. Why don't you just say, hey, we know you're stuck here. Like, we know you don't expect a whole lot, but we actually do put some effort into this, and we really care, or like something to that effect, right? Like, that would be so much, that would get have 10x the response, I'm sure, right?
Absolutely. It's a way, I mean, the way to cut through, just being honest about something. Absolutely.
Yeah, it just stands out. Yeah, that's that's a good reminder. I have to make sure, like, I don't know why it's so hard to, like, so counterintuitive to do that and to get.
Why is it so hard to be real as a person? You know, not many people. You walk down the street, most people aren't being real.
Right.
You go to a party. I can't remember what parties are like, but if you go to a party, nobody's being real, are they? Very few people are being real. They don't just kind of go, "Oh yeah, I'm really, really shitty. I'm feeling terrible. I've got so low self-esteem, and I just think I'm rubbish. I'm even sitting here. I might be taller than you, but I'm just feeling really small." You know, if you could see what I feel I look like. You know, if you said that, it's like, whoa, people would probably run away, wouldn't they? Oh no!
Yeah.
Wait.
Yeah. Or they might be really intrigued. I guess that depends. Yeah. I remember trying that with women a long time ago, being like, you know, I just feel so insecure. It didn't work. Did not work. Yeah. No.
Until it does.
Until it does.
Maybe that's the thing.
Until
the one person kind of goes, "Oh, really?" And that's the person.
That's right. So what have you learned about getting these two to more mesh together?
I go through different phases of trying to mesh the two together, and to different degrees of success. I mean, I do think, I mean, I've always seen business a lot as energy, and that's chi. I talk about it as chi. So, you know, the chi of I feel the chi of a situation. So, you know, which way is the energy of this taking me? And when I'm tuned into that, so a kind of Taoist thing, that level of spirituality, when I'm tuned into what's good for me and what's good for the situation then things tend to work. I've noticed that, you know, when I'm more free and tuned in, and things tend to work and then success can come. But it isn't but. I think I used to have the idea that if you kind of do what you love and you're honest and you're good at what you do, maybe a couple of other things, and if you're kind of authentic, then money will come, success will come. And it kind of sometimes works like that, but not always. What I've learned, I suppose, over the decades, the couple of decades or 3 decades of doing this kind of stuff, is it's a good idea to know what a profit and loss sheet looks like and understand about bottom line, and God ain't going to look after that for me. So that's my kind of wisdom around that. It's like, yes, all those things, and if we can, but it's really good that I understand about the revenue and the overheads and cost of sales and bottom lines as well.
Yeah, no, totally. Yeah, I've been on a similar kind of journey, from very essentially what you said, right? And where I'm at now is, I think the spiritual side is so critical as the foundation. Without that, without the heart, without the purpose, without that feeling of serving other people, without knowing what you're doing, as well as just like the practical of like not getting lost in, you know, false beliefs and being able to question those and being able to process your emotions in a healthy way, etc. That's really the foundation. And then we need systems and processes and structure. And that's the train that I'm on right now, is like, you know, building my company into a bigger organization. We're 35 people now. And it's just, you just need a lot of very clear values, standards, practices, processes, systems to make that effective. And it's way more involved than I realized, right? And also, I've never worked in any, you know, corporate job, or I've only ever worked for my parents' companies, and then one startup in Boston where I was a remote team member here in New York back in, you know, in 1999, 2000. So I don't have a lot of experience from like how corporate America or corporate companies do things.
Yeah. But I mean, it's interesting, isn't it? Because there's, I mean, I think probably we both know what it's like to use the spiritual element as, well, let's just trust.
Mm-hmm.
If I trust, it will kind of happen. And I've seen extremes of this over the years because, I mean, we had a business, we had the retreat business. So we'd see a lot of people of very different talents and successes, different levels of success coming through the doors for a retreat, whether for yoga or whatever it was. And I've seen quite a few people who kind of go, boom, the spiritual thing, trust the universe. And it's like, I'd be watching them for months afterwards when they've got their big idea and they're doing something, kind of going, I get it. I think you're trusting the universe a bit too much. I think working away at it is really important. And I'm sure there's lots of idioms or whatever proverbial things about, God helps those who help themselves. We have to do it hand in hand kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But it's like, you don't just, which is a bit like the thing that I saw my parents doing when I was a kid, which is giving everything up to God, which is why I became the humanist. So this thing of like, and I love what you say, I love that, having the spiritual thing as the base and then getting into the grit of what really is required, the toughness of business.
Yep.
And I mean, I don't know, I mean, maybe I'm getting older, but I used to think it was easy, and maybe it was easier at times in my life. But success is success, whatever that is. Well, actually, I know you've got some ideas on what success is. I just read something of yours about success, and it was really brilliant. But at whatever level of success, succeeding in something and what we want to do is often quite kind of, right, get up again, get moving again.
Right. Yeah, you just have to do the work. I mean, my wife is a dancer, Latin American ballroom dancing competitive. She started late in that game. Like most of the other people in that world started at age 3, right? And they've just been at it. Her main teacher, Austin, I don't know, I think he's 25. He's been at it since he was 5 years old, right? So he's kind of got a head start. And she's older, but she's got other advantages. So it's that's sort of the game that she's playing. But in order to play at that game, like it's a full-time, full-on commitment thing, right? And there's just no way around the grit of the practice. You have to be smart. You have to also do all the inner work, right? One of the things that she found was that she had some inner resistance on being happy, which that will, make her not as good on the dance floor, right? So the inner work is super important, but damn it, you got to put in the time on the floor and all of that practice to make it.
Well, I'm thinking about, because I clearly know what you've been up to, but I also, before we talked, I wanted to have a quick look at, I thought something on your website. And before we talked, we had lunch because over here, we're talking just after our lunch. So we're in lockdown. We've got our boys here, not at university, they're studying online. So they're here. So every lunch we have a very, very Italian lunch.
I love that.
Really noisy, eating loads, Parmigiano and everything. And it's just madness. If we're feeling a bit quiet, it's not the place to go for lunch downstairs. And I've just been reading about some of your story and about your name and about the persistence and determination derivation of Calvin. And I basically went and I said, I'm going to speak to Calvin this afternoon. I want to tell you about him and read this out. And it was like, they loved it. It's like, okay, yeah, we get it. Because they're both artists. One's studying film, the other one's studying music. And one of them really understands about persistence. And the other one is a lot more kind of, up at 2 p.m. It's like if I do half an hour's work. So it's a really, really, really important message. Yeah. Without being workaholics.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Right now we're looking at Simplero, we're looking at, and the other businesses, but we're just reevaluating how we do hiring and just doing a complete deep dive on that. Like, what are those competencies or values or principles that we want to screen for? And we already have pretty deep processes and systems around hiring, but there's just this entire new level that we're embarking on, right? So someone I was talking to has a process that we're going to copy, which is whenever you have a new hire, like you have your clear values defined, like 5, 8, 10, whatever. Amazon is 14 that you hire based on, but then after they start, every week you evaluate any new team member on all of these values every week with them for the first 2 months, to make sure that it really gets built into the habit, and you're really sure that this person actually is a match for your culture and all of that stuff, right? So it's that level of having systems and processes and building a foundation, but now on the more structural masculine side, if you will, right? Practical systems side. I like to say systems and spirituality, and like put those two together, right? So again, not like this, but like this.
Yeah.
I'm just amazed at the depth that it takes in some of this work, right? It's a lot of work.
Yeah, and then it carries on, doesn't it? Not that you get it and then that's it. We actually, as I say, and that I'm applying, I'm thinking of that for work. It's not that it's like, okay, I've really understood the formula for, succeeding as a funnel entrepreneur or whatever, and it's like bang. I mean, I don't know. I'm only, I'm going to say I've tickled funnels. I've dabbled in funnels for a long time, but I'm not an expert by any means. But what I do know about it is that you have to keep fiddling with the thing. What I naturally do is I set something up. It takes me ages to set it up, and then I leave it. What you have to, you know more than anybody else. I have to go in and this all the time.
Yeah.
And
the theory is so much easier to grasp than actually making it work in practice.
Yeah, it's hard work, isn't it? And so in the having that with in the practice of work, and in spirituality, it's kind of, I suppose it's kind of the same thing, isn't it? Yeah.
No, you're saying like in spirituality, is also like, oh, it seems easy at first. Like when I took a coach education, I hired a coach in 2005, 6, 7, something like that.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh my God, like 5, 10 sessions, I'm going to be like fixed. Everything's going to be great. Right. And then I was like, she convinced me that, you could become a coach to take this coach education. So I did that. I was like, once I'm done with this, I'll know everything there is to know. Right. And no, it's not how that works. Is that what you're thinking?
That is actually, I was thinking, yes, because I thought I was talking about spirituality, but I wasn't really talking about spirit. I guess more the kind of therapy side of it. And I'm thinking about, the people over the years. I mean, clearly I saw a lot of this when we did have a retreat, because people would think that if they booked a retreat and they looked at some of their stuff, they'd go home and they'd be better, or they'd at least got rid of most of it. And so that I used to love it when people go and kind of, I've dealt with, I reckon I've got 3 or 4 main things going on. I've dealt with 3 of them, and I'm really looking forward to kind of cracking the last one this week. And then I'm kind of sorted. So I'd be sitting there giggling behind my hand, really, because it's ongoing work. So I suppose that's what I was feeling. Is like, I've experienced that in the therapeutic and spiritual thing, which is, and I suppose what's going on there, maybe what's similar between those two things, those approaches, is that in the end, we're scared of it. It's like we're scared of doing the inner work. We're scared of feeling those difficult feelings. And so we hope that if we just kind of hold our breath and go in, it's like, and deal with it, it's like, and then it can come out and I can just carry on living like I was living. And it may be the same in business. It's like, oh no, this is going to be hard. A funnel's going to be really hard. It's like, I'll just go in and I'll do it. And then it'll work. It's not like that in business, and it's not like that in therapy, and it's not like that in life.
Yeah. There's always, absolutely. You can go in and deal with something in a way that you won't have to deal with it again, or at least for a while, right? Yeah. Versus like some sort of superficial band-aid fix. But the work is ongoing. It's never going to end.
Although you're in the business, and I'm loving what I'm involved in within your area of business and your business, because one of the ideas is that you can actually automate quite a bit of the stuff that otherwise you'd be constantly going over and over and over again. And I'm trying to get some of the mentality of that more into our lives and our business, which is like, okay, that I think it was one of your staff that I learnt this about automation, which is when they said something like, if something happens more than 3 or 4 times in your business, then think about automating it. It's like, oh, wow, that's a very good idea. I like that. So I'm starting to do that, and I'm getting that mentality more into the way I approach business. And if that is the case, I mean, even he was saying, you can't just leave it. You need to keep looking at it, but you can automate this thing. Beautiful. I learned a lot about that. Maybe it's the case in therapy and spirituality, there are the equivalent of the automations. So I'm playing with us really here, because if one moment of kind of insight we've had is that business is tough and you have to keep going, and so is life and spirituality. You have to keep at it. In what you're showing the world in business is that actually there's quite a lot of it you can automate and make simpler and easier. So I'm wondering if in spirituality, there's quite a bit of it you can automate in inverted commas and make simpler and easier. I mean, in fact, I'm probably doing some of that without thinking about it in some of the stuff I'm teaching at the moment. I mentioned about hypnotherapy. My idea is that I have a thing called the Fuck It Revolution, which is a membership that I have. And the idea of that is that I've got 6 mantras, and these mantras cover off different areas of your life. And if you understand why the mantras are good and you say them a lot, it kind of gets to the nub of the problem really quickly. So for example, one of them, by the way, I'm not selling anything here because it doesn't open very often, so I can't sell anything. I'm just mentioning it as a subject. Yeah. In fact, I'm brilliant as a marketer because I will talk about things that it's impossible to buy. And it's not a strategy of scarcity. It's just because I'm interested in it. But one example is a mantra. The first mantra we do is fuck it doesn't matter so much. And that's great because most people take things too seriously and are too serious about life and hang on to everything. It's the whole of Buddhism, really, which is like hanging on to things too much. So if you've got one mantra that you respond to your sense of attachment by saying, fuck it doesn't matter so much, that's like an automation. You're embedding some form of automation into your brain.
Yep. I love that.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's like these habits or triggers. I mean, really, in Simplero, we have triggers, right? You can do the same in your environment. Like, oh, when this happens, I know to use this sentence with myself or with someone else, and it's like a get out of jail free card.
Exactly. I almost feel we just need to sit in silence for 5 or 10 minutes now, just to appreciate the power of this, because that is what we're talking about. And in fact, even with fuck it, it's like when there's a trigger that creates pain in me, often the response to that triggers fuck it, it makes me feel better.
Yeah, exactly. I love that. That's fantastic. And also in what you were saying before, right? When something happens multiple times, you have like 3 or 4 people like approach you in the same way, and you end up feeling that same icky way inside. It's not about them, and now it's the time for you to like go investigate that thing and maybe automate something.
Yeah, that's right. Cool. I think this.
Unconscious mind is one big automation machine, right?
Absolutely.
There, and it just keeps running the same programming.
Absolutely.
Good or bad.
Yeah, no, it's true. And processing vast amounts of information all the time. That's the way I see this, the deep stuff is it's just processing everything, tons of thoughts. At the moment, I just had a little flash then of a memory of a supermarket in Italy on one of the islands for something, so it's like, I'm picking down for stories, and you're sending messages, aren't we, into our subconscious, kind of going, this is what to look out for. Look out for this, look out for the good stories, look out for the bad stories, look out for the funny stories, look out for the absurd things. But it's doing all of it all the time. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that's like, and if your filter on the world is like, I want something to be upset about or offended about or whatever, like your unconscious mind is going to find those things all the time.
Absolutely. Yeah.
It's a very,
So we need my hypnotherapy book out now.
yeah. Yeah. Sweet. So what has, like, how do your, so you still do retreats in Italy, or how does that work?
Yeah, in normal times. Well, even last year, even during the pandemic, we did one last year. But yeah, we do retreats in Italy and in England, and we do events, and we have a couple of memberships, and then we have online courses as well, and then the books. So it's funny though, the memberships is what we spend a lot of time in at the moment. And I love memberships. I totally love it. So we have two. My one, which is Fuck It Revolution, which is going to be called, so I can mention it. And because the problem with Fuck It is that you can mention fuck less and less and less online. It's like the normal world has become more open to saying fuck. On television, you can say it, and on the radio, not on the radio maybe, but in magazines you can say it, and the books you can say it, because there's loads of books with fuck on the cover now, even though we were pretty much the first. So you can say it in certain areas of the real world, but when it comes to online, if I just go fuh, I'm getting, no, you can't do anything here. No.
I tend to use fuck as well and swear, and I did that in a job ad, and we posted it into Indeed, and we got banned. It took a lot of effort to unravel that. It's like, yeah, don't put that in the job ad.
It's really hard, isn't it? And it's been a bit of a challenge to us. Mm-hmm. And so one thing we're doing is taking the fuck it out of various bits so we can actually mention it in advertising and everything else. So the fuck it revolution is going to be called, this is now dependent not on a swear word, but on a visual, because it's the picture of a head or a brain that says the revolution is here on it. So that's something you couldn't mention in a radio thing, for example. I could be on the radio and going, yes, my product is the revolution is here. And they go, where? And I go, well, I normally have it on an image that's showing a picture of a brain. So it's another thing that doesn't quite work in certain media. But anyway, so my wife, Gaia's, her membership is called, she has the Being Me University. So her thing is Being Me Therapy. So and she's a therapist. So all her work is about the power of being yourself. And, and her therapy is about, and deep, psychotherapy background to a lot of this is that we can solve most of our problems by being ourselves more. It's like, oh, really? Yeah, you can just be yourself more. I don't understand why. Well, it's you stop being a people pleaser. Don't go to the party saying, just go to the party and be yourself. I mean, we've talked about that. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. But yeah, so we do these memberships. So we don't have massive audiences, but we just have this lovely, rich experience doing what we like, which is talking about this stuff.
It's amazing. So memberships are fantastic, right? Like there's not just the fact of recurring revenue, which is great for business. It's just predictable and stable, right? And you have the opportunity to just keep growing it and growing it if you do it right. But also the sense of community and belonging, right? That it's not just a purchase and a customer, but like you become a member of something. And as I'm guessing, as the sort of the host of the party, right? You take it on as a responsibility to make sure that people get along and meet each other. And that becomes a big part of the value too, is the other members, right? Yeah, I'm guessing here, but correct me if I'm wrong.
No, you're absolutely right. And it's, so all those things are really working. I mean, the person I have followed who's good at teaching about memberships would say people come for the content, but they stay for the community.
Yeah.
And it's a mix for us, actually. I think people come for the content and stay for the content and some community. And the community, because we're not that great at doing community on Facebook, and I've seen that within your system, there's a forum behind the membership site, which is fantastic news for us, because we'd be much happier doing it that way. But in the yeah, a membership's like total love. I see it like it's a little bit like, it feels like the world has changed. I mean, I'm also thinking about it for our boys, you know, the filmmaker and the musician at university, borrowing money to pay for their tuition from the state, who are going to charge them 6% for the rest of their lives to pay off these loans. And it's like, so I'm talking to them all the time about memberships, and we're going to set things up for them. It's like, but the world has changed, because it used to be, now a while back, but still people do it. It used to be that I'd give my talents to an employer, one employer, who basically pay me whatever it would be, your average, 30,000 a year. And I do all my stuff for them, and I try to please them, and I do what's right for them. I do my best for them, and they pay me that 30,000. And now I see it, there's whatever, however many people, let's say 300 people paying me whatever that is, 1,000 a year, 100 a year,
100 a year, yeah.
$10 a month, £10, 10 whatever, 10 a month.
Mm-hmm.
And that's amazing. So I've got 300 employers who are interested in what my talents are and what I've got to say. And it feels like, because of it's also because of the money.
People think there's more job security in having a job, right? I'm like, no, why? There's more security in having 300 different people pay you than just one, right?
Absolutely. And if you get, there's 1,000 people paying, even more security. And absolutely. And if some of them want to fire you, which they do, every month there's going to be some of those people want to fire you. And it's like, actually, and in the way I have my system at the moment, I see who wants to fire me. And it's like, oh, really? You want to fire me? Oh. So I'm going to automate that bit out of my consciousness. But then you also see all the people that want to hire you. So you kind of, when you go out, you do your job interview, which is a launch, isn't it? Mm-hmm. So I do my launch. It's like, I've got this great stuff about how the brain works. It's like, and everybody goes, oh my God, that's fantastic. I want to hire you to teach me this every single week.
Right.
And that's wonderful.
And they keep rehiring you every month, right? It's completely optional, and they choose to.
Yeah.
With their money. Yeah.
That's a lovely, lovely, lovely thing. And it is a brilliant thing to, for doing pandemics as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. Memberships are great. What are the things that you notice in people? How have you noticed that the pandemic has impacted your people, your audience, mentally, spiritually?
I don't know, because I don't know any people. I haven't seen any people. You're the first person I've seen in a year, but the first member of the human race. It's funny, isn't it? I think I learned quite early on in the pandemic that we're all going through so many different things so quickly. It's like, it's a panic, then it's a head in the sand, and then it's a difficult thing, then it's okay. So there's a kind of, personally, we're doing this or doing this for a while, then doing that, and then doing that. So that's happening. But also there is this kind of communal thing. I mean, I can't tell what's going on for you guys there, but I can really feel it in this country. And if you take, like, just we're doing this, when are we doing it? It's mid-February. About 2 weeks ago, I would have, if you'd have asked me that, I'd have said, well, what it feels like here at the moment for our community and for the big community is that this is really, really difficult. This is actually more difficult than the first lockdown. And even though we know the vaccines are coming, this feels really, really hard, and we're down and we don't know what to do. Whereas now, now it feels a bit more like, well, this is life, isn't it? This is kind of how life is. It's like, we're going to be out of it after a while, and we're doing okay. And what we feel seems to be, I then hear other people saying the same thing. So it's completely disorientating, this thing, isn't it? And has been for a year. Yeah.
I was just in Copenhagen over in Denmark a couple of weeks ago. Yeah. And two things I noticed. One is that Denmark is like completely locked down compared to New York at this point. All restaurants, all stores, except grocery stores, everything closed down. People are really worried, but also bakeries are open and they have like, there's huge lines outside bakeries. People are just like, they're like, oh, we're locked down, we can't do anything. All right, let's go get some cake, right? That's the outlet. And apparently everyone and their brother who's like worked as a like part-time cook at the Noma Kitchen, the famous like world's best restaurant some years ago, they've now opened a bakery, and now they're like ex-Noma, chef opens a bakery. So they're everywhere in Copenhagen.
Yeah.
It's that was fun to see. But what about, it seems to me like a lot of people are really scared, right? And it feels to me like this whole, fear being ingrained in society at deeper and deeper levels has been like a two decade thing, at least since 9/11, that we've just been more and more used to being afraid. I'm again speaking from a US perspective. Is that something that you've seen too?
It's interesting. Well, yes, it is. And, and by the way, we're in a similar lockdown. This is deep. It's the same thing. Deep lockdown here. I'm in a place that's normally bars, restaurants, shops, hotels, Brighton on the sea, nothing open. Having been around teaching relaxation for 30 years, in one way or another, because I was even doing it when I was in the advertising game, my normal, I don't know whether the word is schlep, but the normal line is something like this. We are reacting to a world that's generally not a threat. Being late to a meeting, getting in our cars and driving to go and pick up the kids and wondering whether we've got the right amount of ingredients for the dinner party tonight. We're reacting to a benign world in a benign situation as if it's a threat and in fight or flight. So we're irrationally acting, responding to what is a benign world because we're wired to be the fight, flight, or freeze thing. But we have to kind of get over that, because we have to realize that there's not such a threat and we have to relax. So here's how to relax. That's been what I've done, because my body's kind of going, like, I grew up with allergies to various things. So my body is going, holy shit, this is a terrible thing. This, I don't know what, dust, things from the trees. These are awful. These are the enemy. So let's react against it. Let's fight it. Let's fight it. Let's fight it. And that's what most of us are doing in normal lives. And so we're doing that. We're responding with this kind of thing. But here we are in a pandemic, and it is actually relatively dangerous to leave the home, depending on your age and where you are and the level of infection and everything else. Going to the supermarket has a degree of risk that it didn't have before. The risk was that I drop a can of beans on my toes, or somebody hits me because I've jumped in the line in front of them or something. Now the risk is that I can get something that can infect my lungs and kill me within a month. So that's really interesting to me. So we're almost institutionalizing agoraphobia, for example, where the state is literally going, stay at home. It's dangerous outside. So what's going on here? It's like, well, okay, that means I need to do what you're talking about, which is I need to keep doing the inner work. So I need to keep recognizing what is an actual threat and what's not. Because the danger is that we come out of this, as you say, post 9/11, there was the fear of going on public for years, in the London post, whatever we had, going on the buses, on the underground, on this and flying and everything. Is like, there's a fear there that's based on some truth, but very small risk with terrorists and everything else. Now, viruses going out airborne, can't see it. It's like this is going to linger.
Right.
It's going to linger, isn't it, for years? Yeah,
the invisible aspect of it too, right? Like you literally can't see it. So now you can imagine that it's everywhere, and you get like that becomes even more terrifying.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Want to be respectful of time, so let's wrap up here. I have one final question, but before that, where can people find you and follow you and join your Fuck It Revolution, or the revolution is here?
Yeah, thank you.
Up and all of that.
Well, we got, if people Google Fuck It, actually, we come up quite close to the top, which is mainly the website, which then guides people onto everything. So we have so that's the Fuck It Life. But yeah, just Googling Fuck It gets to most of our stuff. And we have Facebook, where Fuck It. But yeah, mainly the site. Then people can sign up and do a quiz and find out about the books and everything else. So a simple Google does it.
All right, cool. And if you guys don't have the books, they're phenomenal. And John, you're a very, very funny man and a funny writer.
Thank you. I don't know. Yeah, thank you very much. And well, it's been lovely talking today.
Yeah. I was just remembering like how we connected this time here, because like as I mentioned in the beginning, like I bought your books and read them back in the day. I was in Denmark, so they came out in the UK, and then I got to America, and I was hard to get a hold of it in the US because it was published in the UK first, and the title's causing issues or something. But finally was able to get a copy of that too. But then I saw, you know, someone come in my email that someone named John Parkin had signed up for Simplero, and I was like, that's exciting. I was like, can that be the? And then I saw your email, and I was like, yeah, that's the guy. It took me a minute to put it together because the way that you spelled your email was not exactly. But I was like, yeah, that's the guy. So I'm super pumped that we got to meet.
I was really excited because you sent me an email within, you know, we joined up to Simplero, and within 20 minutes, I got an email from you. And you first thing you said is something like, this is not an automated email. Because of course, what I expect from almost anybody I join is I get an automated email within 20 minutes from the founder or from the main dude kind of going, welcome, we're so proud for you to be part of it. It's like you're going, no, it's me. I know you. And I was so excited about receiving your email. So that was a beautiful, beautiful moment. Thank you for that. And it's made me read all the emails that I get whenever I join up to something. It's like, is this really? Oh no, it's an automated email.
That's amazing. Love hearing that. Okay, so final question is just like, what is the number one thought or idea or message that you want to impart people with as we leave here?
Well, it's going to have to. I mean, it's going to have to be related to one of these ideas that we're playing around with at the moment with the Fuck It Revolution. What are we doing this month? The mantra that we're looking at this month in that membership I mentioned is this: fuck it, this is what it is. And they're working as if I planned it, because these were planned a year ago. And it does feel so right for now, which is that level of acceptance of how things are. And in 20 seconds, the idea is not that we just passively go, well, this is how things are. It's like you see what the reality is. We see what the facts are of life. And then we have three choices, actually. The first choice is to moan about it, which a lot of us are in that moan zone. The second choice is to accept it as it is. It's like, okay, we're in a pandemic, woof, sit back a bit. And the third choice is to act. So if we want to change it, if we need to change it, if we need to move on, do that. So I'm loving this thing, which is, fuck it, optional, but this is what it is. And just saying that, it's like if I resist anything, it's like that's what you said earlier. The trigger is I'm in resistance. I'm resisting this. The response is this is what it is.
Yeah. It's perfect. It's perfect. Like, anytime you're in resistance to reality, you're going to be suffering. You're going to be in pain. There's a phrase that helped me early on, which is so much the fuck it way as well, which is, what if everything is exactly as it should be?
Oh yeah.
And just opening that possibility that maybe it is. Because I was really living in a world of like, it shouldn't be this way. It shouldn't be this way. I shouldn't be this way. Like the world shouldn't be this way. Nothing should be this way, right? Like, it's a painful place to be.
It is. Resistance is a very painful place to be.
Yeah.
And we're at some level we're wired for it, aren't we? Maybe to help the old evolution thing, but it's not a peaceful place to be. And I love that. If everything were as it should be. There's just an instant settling of the shoulders and sitting back, isn't there? And that's what that's what I'm into. I'm into the fuck it, does it for me. A few things. I'm into the kind of, oh yeah, oh, this is actually, even when it's tough, it's fucking fantastic to be alive, isn't it?
It is. And with that, thank you so much, John. Really appreciate you being here.
Thank you, Calvin. I appreciate you and what you're doing, and also how you're affecting our life every single day with you as a person and your technology too. So thank you.
Thanks, John. Thank you. All right. Yeah, it's a wrap. Yeah, like I said, just great, super grateful to reconnect, to connect with you in this way after all these years.
Yeah,
and just be supporting you. Yeah, is there just anything that I can help you with right now, big or small?
Well, in terms of Simplero,
in terms of anything, brother.
Oh, thank you. I can't think of anything initially now, but yeah, I'm really excited. I spend a lot of time in excitement of what we're doing at the moment, and developing our work, and with the help of Christina and then you guys. So it's fantastic. But yeah, in terms of specific things, I can't think of anything.
Let me know if it changes, if you come up with something.
Okay, thank you.
I'm here. You know how to reach me. All right. Thanks, John. I'll let you get on. And
it's been really gorgeous to talk to you. Thank you, Calvin. Thanks for this chance to chat this afternoon.
Yeah, and anytime, feel free to reach out. Always happy to talk to you.
Thank you. I'd love to reconnect again. Thank you.
And I love the picture of the Italian family lunch. That's always been something that I've been so envious of in Italian families.
Well, if you want to sit in a peaceful, yesterday Gaia sat there and Gaia goes, look, I've been doing one-to-one sessions all morning. I just needed to be a bit quieter this lunch. Yeah, and I'll share when I read out about the quote. You had the quote from is it Calvin Coolidge?
Yes.
And I read that out, and he goes, oh, let me see. And I turned it around, and he says, let me see him. And so I scrolled, and there's a picture of you at the top. He goes, oh, he's a really good-looking guy, isn't he? So you've got 19-year-old fans for your rock star looks as well.
That's amazing. Thank you. Yeah. I'm gonna figure out how to invite myself to one of your lunches once this pandemic thing opens up. That sounds.
You're on. That'd be fantastic.
All right, I love that.
Open invitation, Calvin.
Thank you. See how I snuck that in there?
Sorry?
Yeah, I snuck that in there.
Yeah, that'd be amazing. I mean, it'd be one of these. It'd be amazing to meet, and if you could join one of these lunches, that would be even more amazing.
Sorry, what?
It'd be amazing to meet, and if you could join one of our lunches one day, that'd be even more amazing.
All right. Well, I'll make that a goal. I'll put it on my bucket list. John, have a great day. Thank you so much.
And you. Take care, Calvin.
What up, YouTube? Thank you so much for watching this video. If you enjoyed it, even if you freaking didn't, hit the subscribe button so you get more videos from me, and also hit the bell button so you get tick, 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 notified whenever there is a new video from me. Thank you very much. I'll catch you next time.